I am excited to play NHL 26. What a line to open. I can't wait to show you guys what I did, but nonetheless, I woke up this morning and I had the itch to play NHL 26. So we'll get into that on today's episode of Coffee and Chel. Welcome in, everyone. It is Friday. We've made it to the weekend. And on today's episode, we are going to talk about another patch that was reverted by EA. As the big gameplay patch that came down this week, they had to revert at least a part of it. And we'll get into my thoughts on that. We'll get into why I am excited to play NHL 26, as well as talk some hockey, specifically the Calder, something that is not getting talked about enough. We're going to talk about some things in gaming, specifically how to play a story mode game that is extremely long, and then having long periods of time between playing. Sounds convoluted, but stay with me. And we'll talk a little bit about life at the end. Also, one of the comments, the most liked comments of the video, was you guys want timestamps because you don't want to listen to all of the things that I talk about in the episode of Coffee and Chel. And you know what? Part of me was like, yeah, but then you're not listening to the whole thing. So how am I going to scam you guys into watch time? That's not right. And I don't want you guys to listen to stuff that you don't want to listen to. I don't think that's good for the brand or just your time in general. So today, there will be timestamps for every topic down below. You guys can skip through. And the other thing I wanted to mention about Coffee and Chel, because another comment that I see every few episodes, and this one got kind of liked, was why isn't can these be on Spotify? I'd be completely transparent, guys. I like being transparent and honest with you. I think that's the only way to have a successful channel, to be honest with you, unless you're running crypto scams or something in 2025. The reason why I don't have it on Spotify is simply because I don't have a sponsor for the show, which maybe that's on me. I could get one. I think I could probably get one given the numbers that I've got on it and the fact that you guys, the watch time for these videos is crazy. But the reason is I don't have a way to monetize on Spotify. So without a sponsor for the show, if I threw it on Spotify, I 100% understand why it would be easier for some people. If you don't have YouTube Premium, that's another thing. Anyway, so I understand. It's just that the ad revenue I get from these being on YouTube is enough to justify spending more time on them every day. Obviously, Who Should You Choose used to be 20 minutes, and it would be pretty basic of me just going through the comments. Now I'm spending about 30 minutes, 45 minutes every morning, kind of putting together a rundown for the show, which is me just putting in more effort. So that's not an excuse, but it's just taking more time out of my day. So I need it to, I need to justify the time input because I can't really stream really in the morning as much now because I wouldn't rather actually. This is my favorite part of my day, to be honest with you, but I can't stream in the morning as much now because my Coffee and Chel videos take about 2 hours in total, right? As opposed to them taking about 20 minutes, a month ago. So that's the honest truth there. And I can totally understand anyone that is frustrated by it. If you don't have YouTube Premium, guys, of all the subscriptions out there, and God, we talk about subscriptions and companies just love milking us for extra money. YouTube Premium is one of the best ones. This is what I would do. Look on your phone, pull up your phone, and I want you can go and find out how much time you're spending in specific apps. Just see if you spend more than an hour a day on YouTube. And even if it's just listening to this episode in your ear, that's still listening. YouTube Premium means you won't get any ads, and an hour a day an hour a day is worth the $15-$20 to get YouTube Premium, in my opinion. Maybe not for some, I understand, but it is one of the, I held off for years. I listen to YouTube every day because I have massive ADHD, and literally anything that I do, I have to have something in my ear playing. It doesn't matter what it is. It's an unfortunate problem that I've developed, and I feel like a lot of you guys probably did over the last 5-10 years. But that being said, I listen to it so much that I'm like, okay, I'll justify it, right? So, maybe cancel that Hulu subscription or Crave because you watched Game of Thrones and then forgot to cancel it 7 years ago. I would recommend YouTube Premium. I don't get any money off of YouTube Premium, guys. I'm literally just being honest with you. I think it's one of the better ones because it is the most watched platform for me. If you don't watch a lot of YouTube, then don't, obviously. So, all right, let's get into, let's talk about the patch. All right, so On Wednesday, was it Wednesday? I don't know my days very well. So on Wednesday, yes, the new big gameplay patch came out 1.3. And this is something that happens yearly. So the launch of the game happens, and then it's usually beginning of January where there's a big patch that fixes it's a lot of things that you would never know or realize. And it's a lot of background stuff and silly little bugs that you like. It'll be like, be a pro chat bubble doesn't appear when you score 17 goals in a season and your guy gets sick and you're battling through a cold and the media called it the Michael Jordan game. Like that's what it would, a lot of it is, right? And I think the reason why it was in December this year, it's always in December, but it was an extra month because, again, the game came out a month earlier. I think it's because the game came out a month earlier and there was just more things to fix because they had less dev time. But it also usually is a long enough time for them to gather data on like gameplay and what things need to be adjusted, right? Which is always subjective. It's never going to be universally loved. And one of them was the icon passing wasn't working correctly. So it was what was happening was if your player was in the field of view, or it wasn't in the field of view, so you were using icon passing, and let's say you had your two players up above you, and you were trying to pass the player behind you, it sometimes, if the player wasn't in the field of view, it like wouldn't go to that player. Wasn't super common, and icon passing was still pretty usable. I would say it's like 90% usable, or maybe 80%. They wanted to fix that entirely, and what ended up happening was they broke it entirely. And I don't want to say feel bad, but I have an understanding because of speaking to the developers for so many years. And again, going to EA, seeing it, I talk about this a lot. I have some sympathy for the employees, you know what I'm saying? Like the guys in the mud boys, okay? I have some sympathy for it because they don't get a lot of help from the guys writing the checks. They don't, because they could use, 15 more developers, and that would alleviate a lot of these problems. Some of these issues that you've got two guys trying to work 12 hours a day to try and fix this thing, and they don't. Like, it can't end up happening because the infrastructure in which the game is on, spaghetti code, all that crap, they simply just can't get it done. And so they released this patch, and icon passing was one of the things they did it, and EA comes out with a tweet yesterday saying, we're currently aware of an issue impacting icon passing in NHL 26 after the current update to 1.3. To address this, we're reverting the recent change related to this feature. So they rolled back icon passing. It's now back to what it was before the patch. The problem when they do this is I don't trust they didn't revert everything. And I know, if I'm being realistic, they did just go into their system and revert the icon passing thing. But yesterday when I played, I could not stick check like I did the night before. And again, it might be placebo, but it really frustrated me because it shouldn't even be a thing, because the only reason I started thinking about it was because they reverted icon passing because it was broken. And it just highlighted a further issue. You got, like, if you're a AAA studio, I don't care if FIFA makes 80% of the revenue. I understand why why the resources are allocated a certain way, as most of you guys do as well. I think that I've tried to explain that point as clear as possible. If you have a business, a billion-dollar industry or business, and you have a portion of your company that makes 80%, and another portion of your company that's 3% of your total revenue, unfortunately, for the players that play the 3% revenue game, we aren't getting the same love. And I think that we can all understand why that would be. Is it fair? No, because they charge us the same price as FIFA. And that has started to really, tick me off a little bit, because when stuff like this happens, it's you're fixing something in your game and you can't fix it, and you have to go back to what it was. It is such a bad look, and it happens so often that it's kind of just unacceptable. Like, whenever there is a patch or a thing, I just assume something is broken. And again, a lot of that is because they don't have the infrastructure in place to actually quickly and accurately edit things. That is a problem that was left to the current dev team from 2015. I've talked about that ad nauseum. Okay, it is a horrible foundation, and it's just stuff on top, and they plug one hole, two holes open up. And I don't know what fixes this, other than everyone just stop playing the game and then the guys on the yachts have to address it. Because there is a point at which EA NHL would do so poorly in terms of engagement or revenue or anything like that, that it would be like, okay, this is still a very important intellectual property of the EA Sports brand. We need to now fix this and figure it out. But the problem is I think that we all just love hockey. There's no competition, and I don't know how much competition would actually help because again, it's a very small sport in the grand scheme of things, and the investment required to make something that we would deem amazing would be so high that the revenue share would be there's no way to replicate the revenue share to make that worth it. There simply isn't, guys. Like and for anyone that says that 2K just needs to come back, there's a reason why 2K stopped making NHL games. No one played it because it was an awful game. Revisionist history. There were some great things 2K did. Franchise mode, all the little things like, the All-Star game and then doing the skills competition and riding the Zamboni. All really cool niche things that we remember. And it's like, man, that's cool that you could do it in game. But the reason that it failed was because no one bought it. And it wasn't a good product in comparison to EA Sports. So a competitor's not coming. It's not. The monopoly on sports games has just been done. I don't think we'll ever see competition, real competition, for any of the sports games. But they need to do something to... It's like they would have to go full burn here. Because I mentioned this yesterday. There's no way they do... NHL is too big of a game for EA to be like... I don't know, because it's a private... The sale to the Saudis impacts things pretty heavily. Now, again, I'm not an economist, but from my understanding, when I was reading into the differences between privately owned as opposed to publicly, like publicly traded company, which is what EA was. When you're publicly traded, you have a board that you have to answer to. You have profit sharing. You have revenue reports that you have to explain to the people, the shareholders, and explain this is what's happening. I think in the gaming industry, it's one of the worst things that could have happened. Now, it gives them infinite more resources and money and more yachts, but it also then means they have a much larger collection of people to answer to because they have to show revenue over anything else. The shareholders for people that, of video game companies, they don't care if the consumer is like, man, what a great game. They care if you bought the game. That is it, right? And then going to, the Saudis, take the politics out of it, okay? They are infinitely rich. And I don't know what that means for EA Sports. And we won't see any impact of that sale for about 2 years from what I'm reading. But I think it would allow them to go to a 2-year cycle once to fix the game. Now, again, remember, if you lose all of your game sales for a year, okay, let's say NHL 26 just runs for 2 years and you have live service and HUT. Basically, it would just be microtransactions propping it up, okay? I think a lot of us would just accept that at this point if we were promised a game that works. And I mean, like, the menus in HUT, you can't literally see the data being like, hey, man, we're taking off for the day, and then the game just slowly evaporating into mush as you play it, right? Like, if they fix all of that and come back with new innovative features for the game with a 2-year cycle, I think 80% of the regular player base would accept it. It'd be a long 2 years. It would be. I think that people don't realize how long that would be, or how long it would feel. But I think it's necessary, and I'm wondering if it's more possible with, with it being a private company again. Now, it might just be that it's a different way for them to make more money, and at the end of the day, it's all about money. It's not really about the consumer. That's the difference between AAA studios and AA studios and indie devs, is that they are more maneuverable. It's like a mom and pop shop where, they care more about the individual customer because they aren't big enough yet to have to care about the shareholders, right? That's just the unfortunate of the business. But man, like when I saw that tweet come out, I was just like, this is ridiculous. I have been doing this, guys. I created my first NHL video on January 1st, 2017. I've been a game changer since I think 2018, and I've been doing it full time since 2019. Like, I cannot understand and accept that they can't fix their own game. You know what I mean? I understand why. but I'm not accepting it anymore. But then what do we do? It's like, don't play it then. And it's like, but I got nothing else, right? This is the problem. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I gotta play it, and I don't know what to do. No stomping my feet and being like, oh, and, an hour's therapy session on Coffee and Chel with you guys is not gonna move the needle and get the yacht owners to come down and be like, man, hey, did you see this no sleeves guy? This middle-aged dude just spent an hour ripping us to shreds. Maybe we should pay attention. Like, that's not happening. You know what I'm saying? So it's just venting. It's frustrating. And the trust of the consumer and EA NHL is just completely evaporated, I think. And I hate that because, like I said, the mud boys that are doing the coding, they are not bad, lazy people. Like, I know what they are demanding, they're getting demanded to do, and it is just like everyone's getting squeezed. So just super frustrating there. So, it's not an easy process to fix, but, here we are. So that being said, I'm excited about playing NHL 26 today, especially on stream. So we got a new event. All right, we got a new event. We're going to take a little field trip because yesterday, if you weren't watching my stream, come on, man. Come on. Show some love, I did a thing, and it took me a long time. Well, it took me 3 weeks of literally dedicating everything to it. And we're at a point now, but I am excited, and here's why. For everyone listening, not watching, I apologize, but the beginning of the Sharks theme team has been complete, including the hardest card and the one I did not think I was going to be able to get. I pulled the trigger on Fantasy Timothy Liljegren. One of the worst fantasy items you can get. I apologize to Brady Shea owners who have just been robbed senseless. That one was crazy. But Timothy Liljegren is now on the squad. I got him for 475,000 coins. I didn't want to spend those, but enough comments challenging me to get to platinum with a full Sharks theme team. And I want to be clear here because I went down the rabbit hole, and this is why I am excited. I've talked a lot recently about playing or watching the Sharks more simply because I have a space to do so now. Okay? I don't have to do it in bed because I'd fall asleep by the time it's the second period hit. Now with my man Sanctuary, I've been just in my chair, feet up, watching the entire thing again. And the Sharks are also half decent, and Macklin and Will Smith are must-watch TV. So it's been awesome to watch them. This has reminded me exactly of my experience 3 years ago with MLB. So I talked about this a little bit, but in MLB The Show, because it's not my main game, I'm a Red Sox fan. I have been since I was a child. Nomar was my favorite player when I was a kid. And anyways, I've been a Sharks fan or a Red Sox fan for forever. And I was like, okay, in MLB The Show, I've chased the best cards, all of that. I was like, you know what? I watched the opening day a couple years ago of the Red Sox after the pitch clock change, right? And I got to be honest with you, outside of a few games, maybe against the Yankees every season, and then anytime they made the playoffs, I would watch it in its entirety. I just wouldn't be able to watch a full baseball game because it was over 3 hours. It was just too long, and I didn't, there's a lot of boring to it, and I didn't really enjoy it. So pitch clock changed everything, and then the Red Sox, I just watched them, and I was falling in love with it again, and then it made me want to play the MLB video game, and then use just a lineup of the players that I'm watching nightly. And the Sharks have been so bad for the last half decade that I really haven't had that feeling at all. Because even if I wanted to make a Sharks theme team, like, it would have been an absolute mess. Like, Cody Cece, and, it was so bad. And now half the roster is, like, quite good. And it made me want to put the last few games that I've watched in real life, it has made me want to put together the players that I watch nightly now on my team, and I have gone full bore theme team. So I will not be doing an all-time Sharks theme team. Maybe we get there, but here is what I'm going to do. I am legitimately going to make the line combat. I'm playing franchise mode. I am going to get the best version of every current roster player, okay? And then I'm going to use those players how they are managed, right? Like how they are in their lineup. Now, Misa is hurt, right? And he hasn't been playing, but when Misa is healthy, he is in the lineup, right? So that would be one example. But like Joe Thornton, not going to make him yet and use him on the team yet. We might get there, but I'm not going to prioritize line combos. I'm literally going to put the team together the best way possible with the best cards available to me, and I can almost do it pretty well. Like when I went through the Sharks team, like available cards, like Colin Graff has an 86 overall. Dickinson has an 85. Like there's a better Askarov card. That might be the biggest problem because Askarov cards this year have been absolutely god awful. But I'm very excited to do this, and here is what I'm going to do for the challenge, right? So I need to, because there has been changes to ranked with the win streak rewards, right? My plateau has changed because no matter what, you're going to go higher than you would have in season 1 just because of the win streak rewards. Because even if you go 500, you'll fall into 2 wins every now and again. So that being said, I'm going to play ranked with my main team all the way to the point at which after 10 games, I don't move up anymore. Okay, so if I get to Platinum 2 and I can't get to Platinum 3 after 10 games, I'm just stuck. That's my plateau. Okay, that's where we're going to set it, right? And I think that might be too few of games. It might be 20, but I really want to start getting to use this team. So once I've hit that with my main team, I'm going to quit out. So for everyone that wants free wins, I'm going to quit out of all my games, get all the way back to gold 1 with 0 squares. And we're going to fire up the team and see if I can get back there with the Sharks team. And I can't tell you how excited I am for this. I don't know why, but it has just reinvigorated my desire to play this game. And I get that I'm getting older, okay? And I don't mean like, I people get mad at me when I say that because I'm 35. Most of my viewership is all over 30. When I say I'm older, guys, in the terms of the video game landscape, video games are a young person's thing or viewed as that. 35 to, you want to hop on Call of Duty, a 35-year-old, right? Some 21-year-olds, like, I'm not playing. You know what I'm saying? Like, the perspective. It doesn't mean that we're any worse, right? Some of my best friends in the community are in their 30s and some of the best at the game. But that being said, there is going to be a challenge to it. But I feel like I am still extremely competitive, and I know that I am not great. Again, I'm very self-aware that I am very good at the game. I am in the top 1% of the player base in terms of skill and output. And I can prove that because, again, even just getting the platinum based on the numbers, the sheer numbers of the players in the player base, that's like 1%. Like, that's what's crazy. Getting the diamond there was 300 players in the world in diamond and above last season. That's what's crazy, right? So I'm very confident and very excited to use this team, give myself a challenge. And I think the good thing is that the Sharks have so many good cards, so it makes it a little bit more like, if you, again, I say, I make this joke a lot. If you're a Minnesota Wild fan, I don't know how you'd even be able to do this because it'd be all base cards. Like I will be using Mario Ferraro's base card. That's going to be a problem, right? But I am very excited for this. I can't wait to start, and we'll see how high I get. And maybe it's a situation where I literally just, like, I don't win any and I'm stuck. And I'm okay with that because now I have a self-inflicted challenge and it makes it way more fun. But it has made me want to watch the real thing just as much as the real thing has made me want to play the game again. And for anyone that is sick of NHL and you cannot wrap your head around not chasing after the best meta card or line combo, slowly put together the team you watch in real life. The amount of people, I think, that play this game because they like hockey but don't watch the real sport at all anymore is at a large amount. It would blow you away, especially at the competitive high end. It's because you're playing the video game so much that you're burnt out on hockey for a lot of us, like I feel like. But you have a favorite team, watch them a couple nights. I don't care if it's the Vancouver Canucks, and I shouldn't speak ill of the Vancouver Canucks. You guys are a psychotic fan base, and my comments will just be exploded. But the Nashville Predators, if you're a Nashville Predator fan, yeah, your team kind of stinks, and your team would be very bad. Slowly put it together. Slowly save it. You don't need to get the fantasy card. I just wanted to because it was kind of easier because the Liljegren was so cheap. Well, cheaper compared to everyone else. But try and get the best card available for every player that's in the current lineup. And healthy too. Whatever way you want to do it. If you want to do it all time, do that. I'm just explaining the way that I'm doing it and why it has given me a lot of excitement to just watch hockey again too. Like I've really enjoyed it. Also need to let's move on to the real thing. All right, let's move on to real hockey. Okay, couple things. I'm going to take my victory lap on Ivan Provorov. Fantasy cards are starting to pop off a little bit. We went like a 3-week stretch there where like one card would score every other night. I haven't seen it before, but if you look at the numbers of the last 5 years of the fantasy event, 11 to 13 cards get to 99 every year. It's almost like clockwork because they use numbers and analytics to give probabilities. And, if you pick 32 players, that's a lot. Like some are going to fail, Brady Shea, and some are going to pop off, right? But there was two cards that I mentioned, I believe. One of them was Ivan Provorov, where his like analytic thing. I use the athletics like predictor thing when I'm doing my like video on here are the best options for fantasy because again, you can know puck or whatever, but you're really just guessing, right? And so I try to for that video explain what is expected of each card. Lafreniere example, right? Who is now on pace, but it was getting a little scary there for a minute. But Ivan Provorov was one of the ones where I was like, I think he was predicted to get to like 93 overall, not 99. I was like, I don't know. For some reason, I've watched a bunch of Blue Jacket games, and I had Ivan Provorov on my fantasy team. There was just something that was like, man, I think that he is going to be the outlier, one of the outliers. And now he's up to a 91. Barzal enjoyers. Yo, we're laughing. My fantasy cards were so bad for a while. I had Barzal and Byram. And look at us now. Barzal's up to an 87, but he's got 90 skating and quick release. And Byram is now an 89 overall. So I love that. And this is what sucks about the fantasy event being so piss poor in terms of how much it cost. They wanted to milk everyone for as much money as possible for the fantasy event because it is the best event. And there is the least amount of cards in the player base this season because it was so difficult, and that's the biggest detriment to the fantasy event this year. When you have everyone with like 3 or 4 cards, it is way more exciting and way more buzz. No one has these. Everyone has 2 B&D cards, and a lot of people probably have like Palat, or if God forbid if you got Spurgeon or something along those lines. Like I feel like there's a lot of really bad ones this year. Like, if you go back and look over the years, the really bad ones, there'd be a few that, like, don't even get a couple goals. But for the most part, they end up at a spot where they're at some point usable. There's a lot of cards that are just brutal right now. And I don't really think they have much hope of getting back. So, anyways, wanted to take a victory lap on that. The Leafs, are they back? 3 wins in a row on a road trip that kind of had to save their season. And now it looks like Joseph Wall might be hurt. So, this Leafs season reminds me. Again, I watch the Leafs every night. I follow them just as much as the Sharks, probably, just because, again, they're on at 7 p.m. My dad is a diehard Leafs fan. The Leafs are what made me a fan of hockey when I was a child. A lot of core memories watching. Like I talked about some, my first favorite player of all time was Sergei Berezin. I thought it was the coolest thing that he had his jersey tucked in his pants. And Cujo, like I grew up in Southern Ontario. It was either you liked the Sabres or you liked the Leafs mostly, right? And so I'm always going to have a soft spot for the Leafs. I really want my dad, who is one of the best diehard Leaf fans, not one of those guys that just has to yap about him constantly, just sits there in his basement, angry and just relentlessly angry about his Leafs because he is 65 and was 7 years old when he saw the cup last. And he just watches them quietly in his basement, right? So I want to see them win the cup one time for him. He has a shirt, one of the best shirts that I've seen, like one of the best sports shirts I've seen is One More Before I Die. Like just one more before I die. Like that's a famous like Leaf shirt that like I don't know if it was like one store that made those, but I actually see quite a few of them. So anyways, the Leafs might be back. The Eastern Conference is insane because they're all above 500. It's wild. And I was looking at the standings. I feel like a lot of people don't watch the standings every day anymore. I remember going to school and like the first thing I would do is look at standings and stats. I was such a nerd for that when I was like back in the early 2000s. But anyways, dude, there's one Canadian team in the playoffs right now. And I don't really care about I want to see a Canadian team win. I would like a Canadian team to win the cup so that it at least it is the tax thing and all of that. I would like Canada to just win a cup because hockey is clearly a sport that Canada cares about more than the U.S. And I think it's just kind of embarrassing that a Canadian team hasn't won, but I understand why they haven't. We have every disadvantage possible when it comes to acquiring players. One team, and it's the Montreal Canadiens, and they're barely in. But If the Montreal Canadiens were to come out, they're Leafs are 2 points back of the Canadiens now. So Montreal fans, like, I'm very curious. I said this going into the season that Montreal overperformed and overshot their actual talent and skill level last year and snuck into the playoffs. And that was incredible. A lot of that was due to Lane Hudson having one of the best the best rookie season by a defenseman ever, right? I said that when they improved, that they would look more like a wild card team, which what they were last season, but it would make more sense. That was like my thought. Much like the Blue Jays, for anyone that's a Blue Jays fan, I think that the Blue Jays, they had over 50 come from behind wins last year, which is not replicable. And I think that they'll probably win the division this year, but more because their team improved and it makes more sense. I don't think that they'll actually win more than last year, right? Same situation with the Montreal Canadiens. And again, I hate the Montreal Canadiens and their fan base, and it is 100% EA Sports' fault. For any Montreal Canadiens fans, any QC guys out there, I apologize. It is not rational behavior, but if you were to watch my streams over the last 5 years and you realize that every single time I queue up for an online game, I am not kidding you, 90% of my games is against the Toilet Bowl logo. It has simply just made me hate you guys, okay? It is a rivalry. Me versus the QCs, and it has nothing to do with you guys. Yes, there are a few bad apples out there. Some of the best people I've met in the community are from Quebec. I've gone out drinking with Nivians. Fool might be the nicest kid I've ever met, speaking to some of the OGs in the NHL community, but nonetheless, this game has made me hate you guys, and that's good. That's good. I think that's good for everyone to have a bit of a rivalry. The Capitals. Okay, I want to touch on the Capitals real quick. So they beat the brakes off my Sharks, and it got me thinking, because Ovechkin is like on the third line now. Well, like, he still plays top power play moments, but like he basically doesn't move. He can't. He just doesn't skate. But he is still a point per game player somehow, one of the best goal scorers, and he's the best goal scorer of all time. But it's crazy to me that it reminds me. I think again, I can only relate to the teams that I followed. Right, it reminds me of my point about the Leafs when I was the Sharks in 2015, the year before they went to the Cup final. 10 years of dominance, right? They didn't win a cup, but they went to conference finals. They won the President's Trophy. They were always among like one of the best teams in the league. And then they had this random season. I think it was 2015 or maybe 2014. A random season where they just could not get it going and ended up trading Ryan Clough to the Devils. Douglas Murray went to Pittsburgh. They got picks and stuff. And it looked like it was the beginning of the end. And then for whatever, they made all of the right trades and acquired assets and whatever not. And then the very next year they went and they were able to make it to the, Stanley Cup final, right? And continued it. What's happening with the Leafs right now? If Wall is actually out, they're toast, because Solars and Wall is really probably the main reason as to why they were so good last year. I think that the Leafs are probably going to miss. And it sucks because they don't have a first round pick. And dude, the Boston Bruins just continue to own this franchise because Toronto is too good to get a top 5 pick. And if they draft 6 and below, that pick is the Boston Bruins for Brendan Carlo. And that is another devastating blow to the Leafs franchise. But it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't make the playoffs, sold off some pieces, just a few, and we're able to come back next season and everyone just is healthier and it just clicks. The league has so much mediocrity in it that the Leafs have too much talent to be a non-playoff team. And I think that it's just injury and happenstance but anyways, I think that it's starting to remind me of the Sharks in 2014 or 2015. The Capitals. So has there been a franchise that has lost its best player, its franchise player, based on injury and retirement? So they lost Backstrom. They're going to lose Ovechkin, right? For example. And been able to rebuild and remain one of the best teams in the league. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but what they're doing, like Leonard is the real deal, right? They've been able to piece together a team that is still one of the best, and they're going to lose Ovechkin, which is obviously going to be a hit. But I don't think it's going to be one where they now aren't a playoff team, And just the gold standard for rebuilding. As a Sharks fan, one of the biggest crash outs, and that happens with any team that's great for 15 years, realistically. Like Thornton, went to go chase a cup in his twilight years. So did Marlowe. You had Coach Scher just retire because of injury. It was just over. When you lose your franchise players for a second round pick or third round pick, it's almost impossible to continue being good because that third round pick is not going to be the franchise player that carried you for 15 years, right? And it just got me thinking about the Capitals. Just like, I can't believe how good they are. I thought 2 years ago, when Ovi looked like he wasn't going to break the record, it was like, man, when they snuck in and got smoked by the Rangers in the first round, and it was like, what a waste, because like you got in because no one else wanted to win, like the Red Wings, and man, they blew everyone away. Just crazy. The last thing about the real NHL I want to talk about, Wallstead, the Calder. I was starting to look because they mentioned on the broadcast of the Sharks game that Askarov is actually Calder eligible. And before he got the Sharks got the brakes blown off them, I was like, man, maybe Askarov has a shot at the Calder, because if you go and look, Schaefer, Demidov, and Seneca are all tied with 20 points. And it is Schaefer's to lose. Don't get it twisted. But they were point per game players for the first 15 games of the season. Now they've got 28, almost 30 games, and they're at 20 points. It's not like the Lane Hudson and Macklin Celebrini race last year, because they were basically point per game players. Schaefer, it's still Schaefer's to lose. But I think what that means, because there isn't a 70-point player potentially, and maybe they do, and they turn it around, but rookies, especially defensemen, they get adjusted to. I think that Schaefer is a difference maker, right? Barring injury. But nonetheless, the league will adjust to him. And much like with Seneca and Demidov, they will adjust, and it's just harder. You got to remember, these guys played in junior. That's a 68-game regular season against children. In some cases, a lot of the kids are 18 and below, and now you've got to play 82 against men, and that is something that takes a long adjustment period, right? And you can come out guns blazing, but then you usually see it tail off a little bit. So I was like, man, it might open the door for Askarov. Now, his numbers got kind of screwed because, his first 8 games of the season, he had a 4 goals against average and an 82% save percentage. I wish I was making that up. But his last 12 and into November, he had a 940 and under 2. And now his season-long numbers, he had a 910. I was like, maybe he's in the shot. And then I was like, man, I didn't realize Askarov was eligible, because the eligibility is 25 or 70 games or whatever amount of games. For goalies, it's always weird because they don't play as much, right? So I went and looked. I'm like, is Wallstead considered a rookie? Because he has played parts of a game in a season for the last couple of years, and I didn't even realize Wallstead is the league leader in save percentage. He's only played 10 games this season, but he is the best goalie in the league right now. And I went and looked at the Calder odds, okay? Minus 250. This is what I said last year for everyone that was like, Lane Hudson's going to win. And I was like, I don't believe you, and I think you're wrong until the betting line changes. When Vegas moves the line, they know stuff. And they, you know what I mean? It's easier to predict. That's what I gauge it on. And Schaefer's is minus 250 to win the Calder right now, as he should be. He's definitely the favorite. And then after that, it's plus 300 for Demidov, who's also just tied in points with Schaefer, and plus 700 for Wallstead. So if you're a betting man, you're looking to throw some kashish on a season-long bet, Wallstead at plus 700, not terrible. And then I saw Seneca. Seneca has the same amount of points, 20 points in 27 games. Schaefer and Demidov are tied with him. Plus 1,600. That's a great number. You know what I mean? Just if you want to throw some bucks on that. But I don't think that Wallstead for the Calder is getting talked about enough. I think that if he keeps up, first of all, if he keeps up a 915 save percentage, that's pretty incredible when you go and look at the amount of goals being scored and things like that. There is the least amount of shots in the NHL in the last 30 years, and goal scoring is still up. So save percentage numbers are in the toilet, right? So very interesting to see where that lands out. So all right, on to gaming. So today's gaming topic I want to talk about. I watched a video about a couple weeks ago. This is a very random one. It's like how to play old games, or how to play a long story mode game. So Red Dead Redemption, I use Mass Effect as an example, those games. And the video goes on to show that one of the bigger problems is, again, we don't have these. When you were a kid and you were growing up playing these RPG games, you would be able to play for 8 hours, right? Because that was the games we played. We didn't play online, right, as much. And it was very easy to get invested and fully understand what's going on in that specific game, right? As you get older, you get 45 minutes, an hour and a half, maybe a night. And it's like the next time that you play is not guaranteed. It's not like you're doing it every night. For the average parent or just average person who works 40 hours a week and you've got a life and you're not always able to play multiple hours of, especially the story mode game, because you probably got another game that you play online that you're addicted to. And I've been talking about how I'm getting back into playing like story mode games. Like that's kind of just been nice to do. And this video goes on and it's showing about what this guy did about playing Zelda. So he played Legend of Zelda. I had never played the Legend of Zelda game, and I think that is going to be one of my like goals for the year is to play a Zelda game. And it was like he kept running into this issue where these big, long, vast story mode games, you play them, you start a character, you play, you get maybe 2 hours in, you go through the tutorial, and then you might not play again for like another week or two, simply because of life, right? Or you're bored, whatever, simply because of life. And then you come back in 2 weeks and you have no idea what's going on, right? Because it's not like an online game where you just know and you just kind of unplug and you know what you're doing and then you just go, right? Story mode game, it's kind of dependent on you knowing what's going on. So the point form of this is that this guy basically wrote down key points of what was going on right when he saved. And just thinking how obnoxious that is, like to do, right? But I was thinking about Mass Effect specifically because about a year ago during Christmas time or holiday season, I was up at like late at night and I'm like, I'm gonna start a playthrough of Mass Effect. And I actually played it for like a couple hours because it's just such a good game. I love it. And then I tried to come back like 3 days later and I was like, I don't remember what's going on here. Maybe that's because my brain is mush from like TikTok and YouTube shorts and stuff, but my memory is just gone. But I was like, I don't know what's going on here, and now I'm bored because I don't want to try to figure out what's going on, and that's it, I'm done, right? Or maybe you go a month, and then it's like I don't like. There's like Pokemon games where I'll play where I don't remember like what I'm doing and where to go and stuff, and then it's just frustrating. You don't feel like doing it anymore. So basically, this guy just writes it down. So I think when I start playing story mode games again, and I'm not taking you right like paragraphs. I'm talking like, okay, killed this boss. Next thing to do is to level up your guns, and then it's like go to this planet, right? Like 3 things. So then when you fire up the game next, you're like, okay, I understand. And you should go. Maybe I'll see if I can find the video again. But it was like a 20-minute video, and he went through like some of the stuff that he does, and how much that has made playing those video games so much better for him. And I just thought that was an interesting thing to talk about because um, playing the long story mode game is kind of like a lost art now because we don't get as much time. And you do just kind of forget. Same thing with like TV shows, man. Like you watch TV show, you watch it because you're trying to escape the stresses of your life. Like I talk about this all the time. If you want to test if you're watching a show because you enjoy it or because you psychologically need a break from life, think about this. The show that you just binge watched, okay? Stranger Things is pretty popular right now, but let's say you're watching Landman, okay? You're watching season 1 of Landman. You just crushed through Landman season 1. Can you tell me the one of the B characters' names? Can you remember what happened in, a couple episodes ago? That's the one. Do you remember a character's name? And you would be blown away at how many of you guys don't. And that there's nothing wrong with that. It's because you're just watching to escape thinking about the stresses of life. And that's what TV and video games is, right? But when we're playing video games, we don't think about that because, there's quest logs and all of that. But sometimes it is necessary to just like, hey, I'm playing this game, so I don't need to think, about having to go, deal with Tommy in accounting tomorrow because he's just been an absolute disaster and his TPS reports are a mess, right? So you're just at home trying to like play a game, but then you have no idea what you've done because you're just like, you don't realize it, but Tommy is just in your mind, right? So I thought that was kind of interesting and something that I'm going to do. So the Sanctuary is just going to have a little notebook right beside on my table where I'm going to be like, all right, this is what I did. This is the next thing I got to do. Enjoy. All right, last thing I want to talk about today before we get to the comments. A little bit about life, okay? Again, I try to make this as relatable as possible. And again, these hour-long episodes, it's tough to just come up with topics. So I apologize, which is, I guess, why we have timestamps now down below. I've been trying to really look at how I utilize my time And one of them is like specific apps. Now I talked about this like about a month or two ago, but I was noticing that I was spending so much time, and again, because maybe this is my job and I understand the dynamics of like how to capture people's attention on TikTok and all that stuff and why it's like popular and what are the best hooks and stuff like this. So when I'm on when you're on the John and your legs are getting a little numb because you've literally just been scrolling about like cats or whatever for 15 minutes, I'll literally laugh when I realize that I'm just stuck in an algorithm and my brain is just like wired to like keep like just scrolling. So I was trying to like eliminate time wasters, and one of the things that I saw um, from a creator was move the apps that you are addicted to off your home screen. So for anyone that doesn't like, this is what my phone looks like, right? So you got like your main apps and stuff, right? But that's your home screen. That's how I set mine up. So all I did was I moved TikTok to the not the home screen. Okay, and it like actually worked quite a bit for a while. And then what happens is like you just got to move over once and you go on Instagram and TikTok. Instagram is the one that I kind of focused on because for whatever reason I'm starting to get addicted to like reels and stuff on Instagram specifically. So it got to the point where I'd come down here to work. It was about last week. It was last week. And again, for self-employed people, maybe it's a little bit different because you have to have discipline as someone who's self-employed because you don't have a manager being like, "Yo, off your phone," right? Which I did for my entire working life. And I was down here working on a video, and I realized that 45 minutes went by because I was just on Instagram Reels. Put my phone down for a second, recorded something, and then I was like, I just back on it again. And I was like, that's unacceptable. I don't have the time for this. I just deleted it off my phone. And so if you have an app that you scroll and you're not getting use out of it, so one of the guys that I follow on YouTube, like I follow a lot of like like self-help people. One of them is Don Martell. I think sorry, Dan Martell. Dan Martell. And one of the things that he talks about is like making sure that you get your time in order and just getting rid of those apps and those things, and you realize that you're just addicted to again the escape, right? So if you're he talks about, it has a video showing you how to get Instagram and TikTok and YouTube to work for you, because if your algorithm is showing you things like how to become a better editor, maybe training things in the gym, and that's all it is, like self-help or something that where you're improving, that's worth it. But so many of us, it's just like nonsense, right? And sometimes that's good, right? I'm not talking that it's bad for everyone, because again, I play video games for a living, so I get to like escape the normal things in life and whatnot. So I don't think it's for everyone. But if you notice that you're losing time in the sense that like when you close your phone, did you get anything from it? No. And you're still kind of bored, but now you're just down an hour, try deleting the app for like a week or two and just see if you can survive. And what's funny is I need Instagram as it's part of my career, but I can also install Instagram, upload an Instagram reel, and then uninstall it in like 2 seconds. And I can see any of my DMs when I'm on my computer. And that's all I do. And I think it's helped me as a parent because, like I said, I was getting to the point where like I'd be upstairs and you're standing there, you don't know what to do. The first thing you do is grab your phone. That's just what we are as like a species right now. And because we're just trained to, oh, I can go and get some sort of excitement and dopamine hit while I'm standing there. And I need to optimize and have more enjoyment that way, right? So now I put my phone away and I got Instagram off my phone. And we'll see. I've actually enjoyed it. It's actually made me be a little bit more locked in so that I can actually utilize my time a little bit better. So, if you have any apps that, you are struggling with like that, just try it, man. You'd be stunned at you think that you need it to like have an enjoyment in life, but you might find that maybe that opens up some more time for you to play some more video games that you might enjoy that you've always wanted to go back and play, right? And I guarantee you'll have more fun playing a video game than just doom scrolling. You will. If you're watching this channel, you're either a diehard hockey fan or just like a gamer, and I guarantee you will. So, the other thing that I wanted to talk about is for anyone that's self-employed in my chat, I find that right now in my career, I'm so okay with my career. I love it, and that's something because I love the day to day, right? It's not all the money will fluctuate. views will fluctuate, and those are important. But because I just love the action day to day, I know that I'm in the right thing, and I will always, as long as that continues to be a thing, I will always be a creator. But I'm starting now. I feel like the stress of not grinding anymore. So if you watched me in NHL 2021, I kid you not, I worked 15 hours a day on average. I was relentless in my chase to get to the top, whatever you want to call it. It was on Twitch, YouTube, everything. I did not. I did every esport event I could for free. I was doing multiple streams a day, multiple video uploads a day, and then at night I would be casting esports events like every night. It was fun. I enjoyed it because I loved the chase, right? And I grew my channel to a point where I'm so. If you would have told me 5 years ago when I started that this is where I would get to, I would have given up so much because I would have never anticipated it. It has given me so many things that I'm so appreciative of. But I'm at a point now. Maybe it's because once my son was born, where I've like, what do I want my ultimate day to look like? So I prioritize at night. I spend a couple hours with my kid. In the morning, I exercise, and then I spend my morning with my son and my wife, and then I make sure on the weekends I'm doing stuff with them. And I'm the stress of someone who is self-employed is that your day does not ever end. There is always something more to do, right? And I feel like I'm getting to the point where I should be working more because I should be just wanting to continue to grow. And maybe that's not a bad thing because I see so many creators that burn themselves out to the point where they just simply can't continue and they sacrifice relationships and all that stuff. But I'm just wondering, for anyone that's self-employed, have you ever gotten to the point in your career where you deal with that? And like, do you recommend like, yeah, man, you need to get on your grind a little bit more? It's not done yet. And, how do you deal with the stress of that? Very curious. But anyways, let's get to some of the questions and comments. That's enough yapping for me. So we'll go to here the ones that I highlighted from today's video. All right, so Sleeves, most important question. What are your thoughts on the sequel trilogy? Speak wisely. Cough, cough. Okay, this is about Star Wars. I'll keep this one very short. 7, 8, and 9. 7 was great fan service. It's literally just episode 4 with 2020 skin. The other two, it was completely cannibalized because two directors had completely different visions for the story, and episode 8 undid everything from episode 7, and then episode 7 they basically had to undo all of the nonsense of one of the worst movies in episode 8. Ace Slaves, Habs fan here. I'm definitely making Dobson and Hudson before the event expires, but I was conflicted about whether or not I should also make Larkin. I also have his and Thompson's Team of the Week cards, and I use them both and love them. I hear the general consensus is that Thompson is worse than his Team of the Week. Yes, it is worse because you can't really play him. Like, it is just worse. Larkin's is not as egregious as Thompson's, but yeah. So I'm fine with skipping him. But I think you mentioned you'd still recommend making Larkin even for people in my situation. Is that still the case? I can split my 85 and 86 NC cards across Dobson, Hudson, Larkin, pull the missing ones I think I need. Like 5, haven't done my Team of the Week objectives yet, but I'd like to get that Caulfield and keep them on my team. Or I could just use them all in Dobson, Hudson, and have them for free. Well, make sure you get the cards that you want, like Caulfield. And if you can make Larkin, I would. Because it's not like if you move on and from his Larkin's Team of the Week card, number one, you can use him to get Team of the Week objectives done still, right? Or you can trade him in the future for a Team of the Week thing. Right? Like, it's not like the card is completely useless, right? So that's what I would do. Because there is some line combos, like the one where you can use a combo Nexus player with a Lightning and a Capital for a +2 overall. If you use Larkin in that, you're one of the fastest cards in the game. Hey, Slaves, I know a lot of folks are frustrated with the defending this year, but I, for one, actually don't mind it. As someone who grew up playing hockey, it feels more realistic than ever to me. The spam poke checking being gone is superb, and I enjoy the fact that it requires some skill now to properly defend. It can be annoying at times when someone blows by you after a mistimed poke, but this is the type of gameplay I enjoy. Punishment for bad timing or spamming. Still love these videos. Appreciate the time and effort. This is 10 likes. This is why I want to highlight this. This is why we will never get a game where it is universally loved from gameplay. It's so subjective. What I enjoy is not what you enjoy and vice versa, and that is completely okay. I don't... Here is my problem with poke checking. I had a clip yesterday. It showed players puck and stick is away from the body. There's no protection at all. And you poke check with a player that has like 90 poke checking, and you hit the puck and the stick, and it skips over. That is my problem. And when you look at the amount of times that happens when you are in position, I agree. The wiggle stick and the spamming it constantly from behind, not getting a penalty and being able to knock the puck free, that is garbage. But if you can't, when in position, poke check, just like you can't stick lift, that is what I think needed to be addressed. But I'm glad that you do enjoy it. Like I said, I don't think that my view is more important than yours. I can only just explain what I enjoy and what I don't. And what did I tell you guys? I don't really want them to touch poke checking this year because I don't trust that they'll fix it. I think that they'll make it too powerful, right? And that's my stance still. Hey, Slaves, what are your suggestions for the sets for the 100 Cup Chase collectibles? It's still the 30 out of the 30 collectible one. So not the 35 collectible, the 30 one. Because I think that the 35 one, I wish they would just explain what's in those packs. The 35 one, I believe, is a guaranteed like 84 or something. Whereas the 30 is like an 82 plus. That isn't accurate, but that it's I believe the plus card is in the 31, so you might pull something less. It's not guaranteed, but you have a shot at, and you can do that pack a couple times. So 40 minutes on nostalgia games is from Max. This is my my subscriber member of the day. Again, if you want to be a member, I highlight a member's comment. You'll see the little badge. You get a little icon here. I think it's $5 if you want to show some support to the channel. Again, no need. You don't need to, but I do like to highlight what a day. 40 minutes on nostalgia games. I spent many all-nighters playing Gran Turismo 2 with my buddy who's older. Brother ran a bunch of street racing cars. Fox Body 90, Honda Del Sols, and Civics. Gran Turismo was... I loved what happened to racing games, man. Those used to be awesome. I loved like I said, talked about Driver the other day, but Need for Speed Underground 1 and 2 are one of the best games of all time. It's in my top 20 games of all time, probably Underground 2. I spent hours renting games and crushing them from Friday to Sunday night every week. We stole coupons from the neighbors when they showed up in the mailboxes for the 2-for-1 rentals. Dude, what a racket you had there. Then split the costs in one Sony and one Xbox, or before that, N64 and PS1. Driver, I crushed, but yeah, I remember that tutorial. Also, GTA Miami Vice was nice later on. Need for Speed Underground 1 and 2 were sick. Oh yeah, man. I love that. Dude, racing games, man, what happened? Ovechkin has evolved his game as he got older. He's a smart player. People forget he used to have wheels. I wanted to highlight this. So I went to DC in September, and I was doing an event for the Capitals, and I got to hang out with Locker, the color analyst for the Washington Capitals. Awesome guy, man. Awesome guy. And we got talking about hockey, and I asked him, you've watched him for 20 years. Why do teams not cover Ovechkin on the face-off dot on the power play? And he said that the reason that they don't is because the goalie thinks that they have it covered, but his shot doesn't come off his stick clean. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He said that Ovechkin has an ability to fire a puck towards the net with power and accuracy unlike anyone else, while the puck is not cleanly on their stick. And he can put it in a spot where goalies think they have it covered. And he said that he used to talk to one of the... It wasn't Lindgren. Maybe it was Varlamov. I don't remember. It was an older Caps goalie. And he said that after practice, he was asking about Ovechkin's one-timer shot. And he said that one of the most frustrating things is that when they leave that open, the goalie always cheats for it. And why doesn't the goalie stop it? He says because they think they have it. They have, if he were to fire it perfectly, like they would expect, they will stop it. But because he has this uncanny ability to get a shot off that is not clean with power and accuracy, unlike anyone that has ever played the game, it goes in because it's not as good. It's not something that they're expecting. I thought that was so interesting because if you go back and watch some of Ovechkin's goals in that spot, yeah, they're fluttering. The puck it's not going in just on a, like that, right? It's going in flipping. And I just thought that was so interesting because for the average hockey enjoyer, you would never pay attention to that stuff. So Courtney says, here are my gripes for the day after playing quite a few ranked games last night because I swear CC got toxic after the patch and online play was less toxic, okay? Defenders picking off passes while their back is to me. Like, come on, man. The computer defender is even looking at me. I hate that too. Especially in online play. One of the better ways to defend is to skate with the puck carrier while defending the rush, and you're skating with them. Like, you're not turned around facing them. You're literally skating with them because you could just poke check and intercept when they're not looking. I also hate that. Post Simulator 26 is back and worse than ever. Did they up the probability on post shots? It started getting better in season 1 as cards got better shooting stats, but I swear we've regressed. Example, I was losing 1-0 with about 2 minutes left in the game. I had to post 2 consecutive shots with McDavid on wide open sides of the net and lost. It also seems like whoever has the worst connection hits more posts. I understand how some parts of the game are impacted by connection speed, but shots, come on. I honestly think, well, maybe there's something like a slider, maybe they artificially make it more exciting. I honestly think it's attributes. And why we're seeing it more again is because all of the line combos reset and all of the shooting attributes went back down. That's my honest guess, but I could be wrong. The salary cap. EA keeps putting out higher and higher overall cards, so the cap is going up, yet we don't really have that many great line combos to salary. I disagree with that because there are a few line combos that give you Vancouver Canuck and a Czechia player is 16 million to the cap. Fowler and Pronger is plus 23 million to the cap. There are more salary cap combos than there ever had been. Even better ones than at the end of season 2 or season 1. Now, I don't necessarily care about having the best meta or lineup or anything, but I want to use my favorite cards. I legitimately can't use because of salary restrictions. We need more stackable line combos, or we need to just bump up the base salary, even with the overall and AP, aside from a few. Hello, Detroit. Line combos not being worth doing at the moment. Most of my lines that have combos are salary cap ones. If VA wants us to buy or make these fancy new cards, they really need to help us out. I agree. There does need to be as many salary cap combos as I've said this since the beginning. Salary cap shouldn't be in the game. If it is in the game, the only mode it should be in is Hut Champs. I don't like it adds a wrinkle to the game and maybe keeps it on the trolley tracks, right? But it is also another way for them to monetize your lineup in the sense that, like, oh, you want all these best cards, you got to spend even more money to get this super niche salary cap. You know what I mean? And 4. Even though you touched on this, what the hell are they thinking with the cost of these cards when you barely get any pack strength from rewards? It's beginning to feel more pay to win than ever before because you simply don't get enough rewards to put into sets to make the cards release. It has never been easier to build a no money spent team and be competitive. However, to acquire the cards that are actually really game breakers or game changers, yeah, it has never been more expensive and we don't get enough rewards. The one thing I don't like about that statement, well, I do believe it's never been easier to make a free-to-play team. Just because you can make a free-to-play team and compete with other players that are around your skill level that spend money doesn't mean that that is a good thing in the sense that, like, yeah, but I want to use good cards, like the good cards, and you can't get them. That's the difference, right? Like, so when people are like, it's never been easier to play free-to-play, I don't like that because while I just said that, I also understand that, like, if you want Nico Hischier, you're probably not getting him if you're completely free to play unless you have a ton of stuff saved, right? While you could just have the 86 Larkin and be fine, you can't get that new, like, hotness at all. So, all right, guys, that is going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Chel. Today, we've got the new events coming out. Make sure you check by the stream. I go live about 2 p.m. Eastern time. But I'll be live until about 6. We do the content video and we check it all out. So if you want to come and check it out then, awesome. If not, I will see you guys next time. Have a good one.